murder, and family betrayal. A tragedy unfolds at Katie Logan's fashion empire launch. The festive atmosphere that had filled the air just moments before now seemed like a distant memory. What was supposed to be Katie Logan's crowning achievement, the grand launch of her own fashion house, had transformed into a nightmare scenario that would test her resolve, her relationships, and her commitment to justice. Deputy Chief Bradley Baker's arrival with his grim expression announced that the celebration was over before it had truly begun. The discovery of a female body in the fabric warehouse beneath the building Bill Spencer had donated to Katie sent shockwaves through the entire gathering. The victim's choice of attire made the situation infinitely more complicated. She was wearing an exclusive design from Deke Sharp, the talented young designer Katie had recently brought into her venture. It was the kind of detail that would make Baker's eyes narrow with investigative interest, and within minutes, the spotlight of suspicion had shifted entirely onto the young man who had seemed so promising just hours earlier. Deke Sharp found himself at the center of a maelstrom he could never have anticipated. His fingerprints were discovered at the scene in quantities that seemed almost impossible to explain away. The designer's hands told a story, one of handling fabrics, of moving around the warehouse space, of perhaps struggling with something or someone. But was it the story of a murderer, or simply the residue of his professional duties? The evidence seemed damning on the surface, yet Deke's protests of innocence appeared genuine to those who knew him well. Katie found herself caught in an impossible position, one that would define not only her character, but also her relationship with her entire family. She had just witnessed the fruition of her vision, a beautiful space dedicated to fashion, creativity, and her own professional independence. Now that same space had become a crime scene, and the man whose designs had just debuted under her label was being treated as the primary suspect in a homicide investigation. Baker's methodology was straightforward but brutal in its execution. The evidence was circumstantial yet persistent. Deke's design had been worn by the victim. Deke's fingerprints were everywhere. Deke had access to the warehouse. From the deputy chief's perspective, the case seemed to be falling into place with almost convenient precision. But Katie knew something that Baker didn't, or at least not yet. She knew the desperation in Deke's eyes when he denied any involvement. She knew the kind of person he was becoming under her mentorship. Yet there was another layer to consider. The Logan family connections, the Forrester legacy, and the complicated web of relationships that define the Los Angeles fashion world all seemed to converge on this single tragic incident. Baker's investigation would inevitably drag countless people into its scope, each with their own secrets, their own motives, their own reasons for wanting certain truths to remain hidden. Brooke Logan's concerns about her sister's venture suddenly seemed prophetic. She had warned Katie that launching a new fashion house in the current climate would be difficult, that there were too many moving parts, too many potential complications. Katie had dismissed her sister's worries as typical elder sister overprotection, but now those warnings echoed with an eerie accuracy. Whatever was happening in that warehouse went far beyond simple business competition. The female victim remained unidentified during those crucial first hours of the investigation. Baker worked methodically to establish her identity, to understand why she had been in the warehouse, and most importantly, to determine who had taken her life and why. The exclusive Deke Sharp design she wore suggested she had either stolen the dress or had been given it by someone with access to his collection. Either scenario opened new avenues of investigation and new questions about Deke's involvement. As family members gathered to discuss the unfolding tragedy, opinions began to fracture along predictable lines. Some were quick to believe in Deke's innocence, seeing him as a scapegoat for a larger conspiracy. Others viewed the evidence with more skeptical eyes, wondering if the young designer's talent and charm had simply masked a darker nature. The question of loyalty became increasingly fraught: loyalty to family, loyalty to one's professional associates, or loyalty to truth and justice. Katie faced an impossible decision. Should she stand behind Deke and risk appearing complicit in a potential crime? Should she cooperate fully with Baker's investigation and risk destroying the career of a talented young man who might be innocent? Should she protect her new business venture, already fragile in its infancy, or should she put her moral obligations first? Each choice carried consequences that would ripple through her life in unpredictable ways. Baker's investigation deepened as the victim's identity finally emerged. She was someone with connections to the fashion world, someone whose appearance in that warehouse suggested a history of involvement with the people who now surrounded Katie. The revelation of who she was only complicated matters further, suggesting motives that extended far beyond simple crime and into the realm of personal vengeance, professional jealousy, or hidden secrets. The detective began interviewing everyone connected to Katie's new venture. Deck's movements on the crucial day were reconstructed. His relationships with other designers, assistants, and members of the Logan and Forster families were examined for signs of conflict or hidden tensions. Every detail, no matter how seemingly insignificant, was logged and analyzed for potential relevance to the case. Yet as Baker dug deeper, patterns began to emerge that suggested something more complex than a simple designer-turned-murderer scenario. There were other people with access to Deck's designs, other people with motives that might be equally compelling or even more compelling than anything that could be attributed to the young designer. The very warehouse that had been intended as a space for creative triumph had become a repository of secrets, lies, and potential truths that could fundamentally reshape everyone involved. Katie's commitment to truth warred with her protective instincts. She had brought Dick into her venture because she believed in his talent and his character. Abandoning him now would feel like a betrayal of everything she claimed to stand for. Yet defending him too vigorously might make her appear complicit or delusional. The gray areas between these extremes seemed to stretch endlessly, offering no clear path forward. The murder mystery that had erupted in Katie's moment of triumph would ultimately become the defining challenge of her new business venture. Whether she would emerge with both her integrity and her career intact remained to be seen. The investigation was only beginning, and already the web of deception, loyalty, and hidden motivations was becoming too tangled for any single person to untangle alone. As the days progressed and the investigation deepened, one certainty became clear. Nothing in Katie's life would ever be quite the same. The fashion empire she had dreamed of building would have to be constructed atop the foundation of this tragedy. And the decisions she made in the coming weeks would determine not only the fate of her business, but also the fate of everyone she cared about who became caught in the investigation's expanding scope. The celebration that had been cut short would become a memory of innocence lost, a reminder that even in the glamorous world of high fashion, darkness could lurk just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to emerge. NEXT. Could Dylan be wearing Luna's final mask? The theory that's breaking bold and the beautiful. Soap opera fans, gather around because we're about to dive into one of the most deliciously twisted theories to emerge from Los Angeles this season. What if the woman calling herself Dylan isn't who she claims to be? What if the homeless art teacher with the tragic backstory is actually Luna Nozawa, alive and scheming behind a stolen face? The whispers started quietly in online forums and Facebook groups, but they've grown into a deafening roar that refuses to be ignored. Viewers are connecting dots that producers probably hoped would remain scattered across separate storylines. The theory goes like this. Luna Nozawa didn't die when that vehicle struck her during her dramatic escape. Instead, she survived long enough to orchestrate the most audacious identity theft in daytime television history. She kidnapped Dylan, the real Dylan, for the second time, stole her face using the show's favorite plot device, and is now systematically infiltrating the lives of everyone who wronged her. Sound absolutely unhinged. Welcome to Bold and the Beautiful, where death certificates are mere suggestions and facial reconstruction is apparently easier than getting a driver's license renewed. This is the same universe where Sheila Carter has survived cremation, shark attacks, bear maulings, and probably a few apocalyptic events we've forgotten about. In this world, Luna wearing someone else's face while playing the long game isn't just possible, it's practically inevitable. The death that never felt final. Deputy Chief Baker stood before the cameras and declared Luna Nozawa the deceased. The official report described massive trauma from a high-impact vehicular collision. The case file was stamped, sealed, and tucked away in the archives. Everyone was supposed to move on. Finn could grieve his daughter. Steffi could finally exhale. Los Angeles could return to its regularly scheduled programming of romantic triangles and corporate espionage. Except something felt profoundly wrong about that announcement. Seasoned Bold and the Beautiful viewers have developed a sixth sense for these manufactured deaths. We've seen this dance before. A character gets dramatically killed off-screen. Authorities confirm the death with absolute certainty. And then 6 months later, they're sipping martinis at Il Giardino like nothing happened. The universe of daytime drama operates on different rules than our mundane reality. And one of those cardinal rules is this: nobody stays dead unless we see the body burned, buried, and exorcised by a priest. The eagle-eyed fans who dissect every episode frame by frame notice something peculiar in the aftermath. Every single time Steffi Forrester mentions Luna being gone forever, the camera lingers just a beat too long. Every time Finn discusses closure, there's an almost imperceptible shadow crossing his face. The show's own recaps have acknowledged what the audience is screaming. The more characters insist Luna is dead, the more convinced we become she's very much alive. That's not conspiracy theorizing. That's understanding the language Bold and the Beautiful speaks fluently. Luna's blueprint for kidnapping Dylan. Here's where the theory transforms from wild speculation into something disturbingly plausible. Luna Nozawa has already successfully kidnapped Dylan once before. This isn't hypothetical criminal behavior we're projecting onto her character. It's established canon. Luna pulled a weapon on Dylan, restrained her, and held her captive. The show explicitly depicted Dylan's trauma response when she flashed back to this terrifying experience during her conversation with Elektra. Luna demonstrated she possessed both the capability and willingness to abduct Dylan. She had already proven she could overpower her victim, confine her somewhere secure, and keep her hidden from searching authorities. That's not beginner-level criminal activity. That's expertise. When someone successfully commits a crime once, the psychological and practical barriers to repeating that crime decrease dramatically. Luna knows Dylan's vulnerabilities. She knows how to control her. She knows Dylan's patterns and weaknesses. Consider Luna's mental state in those final desperate days. The miscarriage had shattered her emotionally, while Spencer's brutal rejection had demolished her carefully constructed fantasy of their future together. She'd murdered multiple people, been exposed publicly, and faced a lifetime behind bars. Luna had absolutely nothing left to lose and everything to gain from one final, audacious gamble. In that psychological space, with those stakes, kidnapping Dylan a second time wouldn't seem radical. It would seem like survival. The miracle rescuers who enable resurrections. Bold and the Beautiful has gifted Luna with 2 guardian angels who specialize in bringing people back from the dead, Lee Finnegan and Sheila Carter. These aren't casual relationships or distant acquaintances. These are women who have demonstrated intense emotional investment in Luna's survival, even after discovering the horrifying truth about her murders. Lee Finnegan, despite being a doctor who should understand Luna's psychological instability, couldn't stop herself from defending the young woman. She insisted Luna was tormented and deeply troubled rather than simply evil. Lee stood between Poppy and Luna, physically and emotionally protecting her granddaughter even as the evidence of her crimes mounted. This is the same Lee who once kept Finn hidden away, letting everyone believe he was dead while she nursed him back to health. Lee has the medical expertise, the secretive nature, and the proven willingness to fake deaths for family members. Then there's Sheila Carter, whose connection to Luna became bizarrely maternal during the manhunt. Viewers watched in stunned fascination as Sheila called out, "Luna, it's your grandma. Come to me, baby." That wasn't performative concern. That was genuine emotional attachment from a woman who sees herself reflected in Luna's desperate choices. Sheila has survived certain death more times than anyone can count. She understands underground networks, forged documents, and how to vanish completely. If anyone could orchestrate Luna's resurrection and provide resources for identity theft, it's Sheila. Picture this scenario. Luna gets hit by the car but sustains injuries that are severe yet not immediately fatal. Lee or Sheila arrives at the scene and makes a split-second decision. They spirit Luna away to a private location Lee's medical facility, one of Sheila's safe houses, somewhere off the grid. They treat her wounds, keep her hidden during the investigation, and together they formulate a plan that solves all of Luna's problems in one stroke. The face mask tradition and identity theft. Bold and the Beautiful has practically trademarked the face mask reveal. It's become the show's signature move, right alongside Amnesia and Evil Twins. We've watched characters wear remarkably realistic prosthetics that fool everyone from romantic partners to family members. These masks apparently possess magical properties that even deceive people during intimate moments, close physical contact, and extended conversations. The show treats face mask technology like it's available at your local drugstore. Need to impersonate someone? Just grab a mask. Want to infiltrate your enemy's home? Mask. Looking to fake your death and steal someone's identity? You guessed it, mask. The logistics never make sense, but Bold and the Beautiful doesn't operate on our pedestrian laws of physics. In this universe, face masks are perfect, comfortable enough to wear 24/7, and apparently undetectable even under Los Angeles' bright sunshine. Luna knows all wearing Dylan's face represents the perfect marriage of necessity and opportunity. She needs to disappear completely to escape justice. She needs access to continue her revenge schemes. She needs to position herself close to the families she wants to destroy. Dylan's identity provides all of that and more. Luna studies Dylan's mannerisms during their first captivity situation. She learns her speech patterns, her nervous habits, her quirks. With Lee's medical expertise constructing a flawless mask and Sheila providing Dylan's actual face to copy, Luna transforms into someone else entirely. The beauty of this particular identity theft is its built-in protection system. Luna can cover her distinctive tattoos with clothing and makeup. She adopts Dylan's gentler demeanor and artistic background. If anyone starts to suspect something's wrong, Dylan can claim trauma from the accident or stress from homelessness. Every inconsistency has a ready-made excuse. Every suspicious moment can be explained away as post-traumatic response. The perfect cover story: homelessness and invisibility. If you're Luna Nozoa trying to steal someone's entire life, you need an identity that's impossible to verify. You need someone whose background is deliberately vague, whose current circumstances explain away any questions, and whose lifestyle prevents anyone from conducting a thorough investigation. Dylan's homelessness provides all of that in a neat package wrapped with a bow. Dylan has no permanent address that anyone can verify or visit. She's been living in her car, which conveniently means no landlords to interview, no neighbors who might notice personality changes, no apartment full of personal belongings that might contradict her stories. The transient lifestyle creates a massive blind spot where Luna can operate freely without anyone cross-checking details. Then there's the new phone number situation. Dylan claims she got a new number recently, which explains why nobody from the real Dylan's past can reach her. Old friends trying to check in. Wrong number. Former colleagues wondering where she disappeared to. Can't connect. Family members attempting to locate her. The trail goes cold. This single detail eliminates the biggest threat to Luna's deception: people who actually know the real Dylan trying to make contact. Dylan also conveniently has no local family, no close relationships that might scrutinize her too carefully, no intimate connections that would detect something fundamentally wrong. She's described herself as isolated and alone, which means Luna doesn't have to fake deep emotional bonds or navigate complex family dynamics. The loneliness that might make the real Dylan vulnerable makes fake Dylan nearly impossible to expose. When Will Spencer discovered Dylan's housing situation, he immediately offered her the guest house. From Luna's perspective, this is hitting the jackpot. She's no longer struggling on the streets. She's embedded directly with the Spencer family. She has legitimate access to Will, the man who rejected her so cruelly. She can observe their family dynamics, learn their routines, identify their vulnerabilities, all while everyone thinks they're doing a charitable deed for a struggling artist, inserting herself into the Finnegan family circle. Dylan's integration into the Finnegan family life represents either remarkable coincidence or calculated strategy. She's not just vaguely connected to Steffi and Finn, she's becoming part of their inner circle, trusted with their most precious possession, their children. Little Hayes apparently adores her. According to Steffi's glowing reports, Hayes lights up when Dylan visits. He asks about her, wants to play with her, treats her like a beloved family friend rather than a recent acquaintance. For a child to bond that quickly and strongly with someone new suggests frequent interaction and genuine rapport. Dylan has invested significant time and energy into winning Hayes over, reading him stories, playing his favorite games, becoming someone he associates with fun and safety. Steffi and Finn have extended an open invitation for Dylan to visit and babysit anytime she wants. Read that again. Anytime she wants. They've given her unrestricted access to their home and children. This is the same Steffi who Luna terrorized, whose family Luna threatened, whose husband's daughter Luna murdered. Now Luna could be walking through their front door whenever she pleases, trusted explicitly with the safety of their kids. If Luna is indeed wearing Dylan's face, she's achieved something extraordinary. She's transformed from most wanted fugitive to trusted babysitter in a matter of weeks. She's gone from being barred from the Finnegan property to having standing permission to enter freely. The psychological satisfaction alone would be intoxicating for someone with Luna's personality structure, sitting in Steffi's living room, playing with Steffi's children, drinking Steffi's coffee. All while Steffi has no idea she's inviting her worst nightmare into her sanctuary. The ultimate power move: confessing to your own murder. Here's where Luna's alleged plan reveals true genius. Dylan walked into the police station and confessed to killing Luna Nozawa. She described the accident in vivid detail, expressed appropriate remorse and trauma, and called the authorities immediately after the incident. She's been the picture of a decent person wrestling with guilt over a terrible mistake. This confession accomplishes multiple strategic objectives simultaneously. First, it officially closes the Luna Nozawa case. Deputy Chief Baker isn't launching an extensive investigation or searching for additional suspects when someone has already confessed and their story matches the physical evidence. The case file gets marked solved, and everyone can move forward. Luna has effectively declared herself officially, permanently deceased in the legal system. Second, the confession positions Dylan as a victim rather than a perpetrator. She's not a suspicious character who might be hiding something. She's a traumatized woman courageously facing the consequences of an accident. When you confess to something terrible, people generally assume you're telling the truth. Why would someone falsely confess to vehicular manslaughter? The counterintuitive nature of the confession provides its own verification. Third, and perhaps most brilliant, the confession gives Finn the closure he desperately craved. He wanted to know who killed his daughter. He wanted justice, or at least answers. Now he has both. Instead of viewing Dylan with suspicion, he's grateful for her honesty. He sees her as someone taking responsibility rather than someone potentially wearing his daughter's victim's face. Luna has transformed Finn from someone who might investigate her too closely into someone predisposed to trust and protect her. The poetic irony is almost too perfect. Luna has confessed to killing herself, making herself both murderer and victim in official records. She's murdered Luna Nozawa and gotten away with it by admitting to the crime. It's a confession that functions as the perfect alibi. The receipts don't lie, the evidence accumulates. Let's compile everything we know and arrange it like puzzle pieces. Luna Nozawa was a master manipulator who once fooled Electra into believing she was an origami expert named Miss Sunshine. That wasn't improvised deception, that was skilled. Planned identity performance. Luna understands how to inhabit a character completely, how to maintain a cover story, how to make people believe her fabrications. Luna has successfully kidnapped Dylan before, which means she knows how to overpower, restrain, and conceal her victim. She's practiced this specific crime with this specific person. Lee Finnegan and Sheila Carter have both saved Luna from death or near-death situations before, establishing a pattern of miraculous rescues. These women have the motivation, means, and opportunity to save Luna again. Luna had every reason to fake her death and disappear. Prison, public humiliation, loss of will, loss of her future everything had collapsed. Dylan conveniently appeared with a new phone number that disconnects her from anyone who knew the real Dylan. She has no permanent home anyone can verify or investigate. She has no local family who might notice personality inconsistencies or behavioral changes. The timeline works. Luna disappears after being hit by a car. Shortly afterward, Dylan emerges and confesses to the crime, effectively closing the investigation forever. Dylan has strategically positioned herself with both the Spencer and Finnegan families, gaining access to everyone Luna would want revenge against. The chess pieces have moved across the board with remarkable precision. The final question, bold and the beautiful, must answer. Is Dylan actually Dylan? Or are we watching Luna Nozawa execute the most elaborate revenge scheme in Bold and the Beautiful history? The theory sounds insane until you remember this show's history. We've seen characters return from cremation. We've watched face masks fool intimate partners. We've witnessed death certificates proven wrong more times than we can count. Maybe Dylan really is just a tragic homeless woman who accidentally killed someone and is trying to rebuild her life. Or maybe Luna Nozawa is laughing behind that face mask, embedded in the homes of her enemies, playing the longest game of all. In Bold and the Beautiful's world, anything is possible, and the most outrageous theory often becomes tomorrow's shocking reveal.